Tertiary education is one of the biggest platforms for the advancement of any society, so conversation around it must be sustained. Unfortunately, tertiary education in Nigeria is going through a very rough patch. So on this week's edition of The Facts, we shall look at tertiary education in Nigeria yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Welcome to the program. My name is Akinwumi Abodunde. On this week's edition of the program, I will be speaking with a distinguished academic, a first-class graduate of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, former Deputy Vice Chancellor, Olusegun Agagu, University of Science and Technology, Okitipupa, former Chairman, Ondo State TESCOM, former Chairman, Ondo State Scholarship Board, and the incumbent Vice Chancellor of Macpherson University, Seriki Shotayo in Ogun State. My guest is Prof.Francis Igbasan. Let's take a look at what the facts are about tertiary education yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Professor Igbasan, thank you very much for accepting to talk today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akinwumi.
Prof,
it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Prof, let's begin with your foray into the academics. You are a first-class graduate of FUTA. So I'm sure that at the time you had very many other opportunities beckoning, but you decided to teach. A teacher is always a teacher.
A teacher.
So you decided to teach. What attracted you to the education industry, particularly teaching at the time?
Well, thank you very much. When I completed my university education, my first degree, and with what I made with first class, I looked at it as well. There were other opportunities, like you have rightly said. I was in Lagos that time. I went to Lagos after my national service. I went to some accounting firms that were ready to take me that time, and then it was actually automatic. But I look at it as my passion for education and the passion for research. And immediately I completed my NYSC, I also got this federal government postgraduate scholarship to study my master's in the University of Ibadan at that time. And then I also saw some of my lecturers. And one thing what happened to me, when I went to Lagos, I met a senior person who was one time Accountant General of this federation, Naiju. He comes from my area. He was the chairman of Federal Inland Revenue that time in Lagos. So I was in office and just to look for a job. I was actually looking for a job in the banking industry. And when he saw my certificate, he saw my result, I said, my brother, I would encourage you to go back to the university. You will do better as a lecturer. And you know, I decided to take that advice. And then I went to teaching line after my master's. FUTA engaged me as an assistant lecturer, and then we started from there.
Okay, now you mentioned a particular issue that is a raw nerve for anybody that is interested both in educational development as well as societal transformation. That's research.
Exactly.
You talked about your passion for research.
Exactly.
But today, one of the biggest gaps in the tertiary education subsector of the education sector is the inability of university lecturers to do research. So how do you feel? Thinking that it was your passion in the first instance.
Well, thank you very much, my brother. It is university lecturers, we do research. The major gap there is that the industry, those that are supposed to use these research results, the gown and town relationship, that is what is not there. A situation where after you have done the research for months and then you have the results and then you discover that there is nobody who actually wants to practicalize what you have done, what your results.
Then I think the research works must be poor, because if you say that the industries don't want to use your research works, it must mean that those research works are poor.
Well, they are not poor. They are not poor. The results are very good. They are not poor. Like, for instance, we did some work when I was in Canada. I did my PhD in Canada. We did some works on the use of a particular feed. You know,
Prof, Canada, you just said. I'm speaking about Nigeria.
No, I just want to compare Canada. What is happening in Nigeria with that of what is happening in Canada. After we have done that particular research was even sponsored by Canadian Poultry Association. It was sponsored. So they came, the association came to the university that this is their problem. And on the basis of that, we instituted a research program. And all our findings were transmitted to that association.
In Canada?
In Canada. And that is the problem we are having in this country. Industries will not come to the university so that the university will be able to solve some of their problems. That is it. If industries are able to mingle with the university lecturers, researchers, some of the problems that we have in the industries today will have been solved by the lecturers.
So what is wrong? What do you think is the reason industries are not patronizing the ivory towers?
I think it is the attitude
of
change of attitude. And they would, some of these people, they will prefer research results that have been done in overseas countries.
So it brings me back to the issue I raised. Maybe your research works in Nigeria are poor.
Abodunde, let me tell you this. Academics in Nigeria, we are even comparable to what we have in other countries. Our people have been to developed countries and they have proved themselves. They have done many things that are documented in the scientific world today.
Nigerian professors,
yes,
and academics
generally, that are documented in the research world today.
International journals?
I'm talking about international journals. International journals. Research outputs. The quality of research that are coming out of Nigeria is comparable to the quality of research that you see anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world.
So maybe the problem is that Nigerians don't believe in the Nigerian product.
That is not the problem. That's what I mentioned as an attitude. Our attitude must change. That is it. Our attitude must change. The way we view, you know, look at even what we wear. People believe that anything that comes from developed world is better.
Okay, we are not a developed country.
Yes, developed country. It's better than what we have in Nigeria. And we must have a change of attitude.
Who will drive that change, in your view?
Well, university, government, and also the industry. These are the three people who are stakeholders.
Okay, now that takes me to a very critical issue, because we just talked about industrial development.
Exactly.
Now, you are a graduate, a first-class graduate of a university of technology. You are a deputy vice-chancellor of a university of science and technology.
Yeah.
Yet, industrial development in Nigeria is on its knees. Why?
My brother, you know, I have mentioned it earlier, that we have research products, research outputs that can be applied, that can turn around our technological development in this country. But do we actually make use of these research outputs? In FUTA alone, we have a lot of results, research results, which I know that if they are applied, will turn around our environment.
But why can't the products of the two universities, for instance, which I mentioned, FUTA and OAU STEC, contributes to driving industrial development in this country. It may give effect
in Ondo State.
In Ondo State,
in Ondo State,
exactly
where they are located.
Where they are located.
Exactly. In Ondo State.
It may give effect to the belief in some quarters that the quality of knowledge imparted to university graduates in Nigeria is zero.
No, I disagree with that.
But the results are not showing it, even if you disagree.
The results are showing it.
And yet we are not an industrially developed country.
Our graduates can compete with any graduate.
Yet they are not impacting the industrial sector in Nigeria.
Why are you saying this? They are doing so.
But there are no industries. Industries in Nigeria are not thriving. That's the issue.
Well, it depends on the area you look at it.
The area I look at it is the area of the average Nigerian who wants Nigeria to move forward. Nigeria is an industrially backward country. I'm sure you agree with me.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So
I agree with you. Let me tell you this. Government needs to drive industrial development. The major problem we are having in this country is the leadership problem. The leadership problem. Look at what is happening in Malaysia. The oil palm that Malaysia is showcasing all over the world today were taken from the southwest in this country.
Yes.
Everything boils down to the leadership. Leadership, the people that we have that are driving the governance of this country. That's where the problem is. The attitudes of our people to what the universities are doing. Are they actually, have they been able to embrace what we are doing in the university? No, they're not.
Okay, now, let me go back to the quality of knowledge imparted to students. Yeah. In the last few years, basically 10 years, a lot of Nigerian university professors, PhD holders have fled this country. How are we supposed to close that gap? Because more are leaving.
Yes.
I'm not sure that you would not want to leave as well.
If I had wanted to leave, I would have left a lot time ago. Because the time when I was in Canada, most of my friends did not come back home. But I believe that
they abandoned Nigeria.
Yes, they abandoned Nigeria. Oh. There are professors here and there in North America, in other places. But we believe that we should be able to change this country. All of us cannot leave. I believe that. I agree with you that most of our friends, our counterparts, have left this country.
How do we close the gap?
Well, the way we can only close this gap is that if the conditions of service in the university are improved upon.
We can't beg the professors to stay.
Yeah.
We can't beg them.
How do we want to beg them? My counterparts even in Ghana earns more money than I do. And that's what ASU is talking about every time. Until there is a change of attitude. If a counselor earns more money than a professor, and you want that professor to stay, and we are in the same economy, we go to the same market. You see? So government needs to do something about it. Today, you don't get good brains in the university. You don't get good lecturers. You don't get good researchers in the university. Most of them are outside the country because they believe that their services will be, the reward for their services will be better in those countries than what they have in this country. So government needs to address that aspect. Not only even lecturers, even look at the medical sector, health sector. Health sector, that place is empty. It is empty. You visit our hospitals all around, you will discover that qualified doctors are no longer there. Qualified nurses are no longer. Where are they living? Because of the conditions of service. Attitude of government to what is happening in the present day Nigeria.
All right. At a point in time, universities called for full autonomy. And that was supposed to be a strong point, a big platform for them to fund their activities.
Sure.
Now, if indeed the universities have full autonomy, is it going to change anything? Is it going to change the narrative?
It will definitely change the narrative.
Can universities survive if they are given full autonomy?
Universities will survive. Universities will survive. That agreement was signed, I think, in 1999.
Yes.
But up to today, it has not been implemented. You know how many governments we've had since 1999 to this present government now that is being headed by Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Government refused to recognize that agreement. What is actually happening now is that this TSC something, this Treasury, I don't know what do they call it?
Treasury single account.
Single accounts.
Yes.
Where the little money that even universities are making also going into government purse. Into government purse. One of the newly appointed chairman of governing councils recently mentioned it, that government should try to allow universities not to operate that policy. Because it is killing the system. It is killing the system. So that full autonomy, government must recognize it. That is full autonomy. University will generate funds. University will spend this fund for research, for everything. If you look at universities today, you will discover that it's only TED fund that is doing some capital projects. Government doesn't even allocate money for capital projects, especially in public universities. In public universities. So that full autonomy, there's no two ways about it. Government needs to operate it. And that is the only way universities can grow.
Okay, let's come to the issue of private universities, vis-a-vis proliferation of universities. Now, despite the fact that there are very many universities in this country,
very many,
a lot of people still say that there is a huge gap. And it looks so anyway,
yes,
because
sure.
if you consider the number of people
seeking
admission into universities, one would agree. But are private universities, especially with the cost they charge intending undergraduates, are private universities actually doing the system any good?
Well, thank you very much. Let me correct this notion. Everybody would say proliferation of a university. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your view?
Yeah, because the number of universities that we have in this country, if they are well equipped, it is not enough to cater for people, the young school leavers that are looking for admissions. How many universities do we have? Today we have we have 274 universities in Nigeria, 149 private universities. We have 62 public, federal universities and the other 163 for state universities. These 274, you will discover that every year there are a number of students who are seeking admission that are unable to get admission into these universities. So that to show that we still need more universities.
Some will say, Prof, let me match on your talk. Some will say that what actually needs to be done is an expansion of the strength in terms of infrastructure, teaching capacities and all of the existing universities.
I agree with you.
Instead of creating new universities.
I agree with you. We can do that. We can do that in the sense that universities that are supposed to admit 20,000,
yes,
30,000, 40,000 would admit about 5,000, 6,000.
Exactly.
So that if the capacities if the infrastructure are upgraded, such universities can admit more students.
Yes.
Yes, I agree with you. But I also want to say that we still need more universities. by the time you look at the number of admission seekers in this country and the number of universities that are available, the capacity of these universities, the capacities, you know, only a few universities will be able to admit 10,000, 5,000, 6,000 students.
But, but you would agree that when a university is established, then the burden of appointing vice chancellor and all the
other
exactly, you know, burdens the university system, especially the finances of the university system. So that's why a lot of people, a school of thought believes that if you expand the capacities of the existing universities, it will do a lot of good.
It is true that government can expand the capacities of the existing universities. And I also mentioned that it is not even out of place to also have more universities, especially private universities. I would say private universities.
We'll come back to the private universities.
Exactly.
I have been speaking with Prof.Francis Igbasan, the Vice Chancellor of Macpherson University, Seriki Shotayo in Ogun State. And we've been looking at tertiary education yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Before this break, you know, I'd like Professor Igbasan to talk, briefly about the fees charged by private universities. But that will be after the break. Please stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with me on The Facts on KAFTAN Television. Thank you very much for staying with me. I've been speaking with Professor Igbasan, the Vice Chancellor of Macpherson University. And before the break, we were trying to look at the issue of funding of private universities vis-a-vis the funds and the fees charged by the universities. Professor Igbasan, thank you very much for staying with me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akinwumi.
You run a private university.
Yes.
And the view is that private universities are too expensive.
I don't agree with that private universities are too expensive.
Despite the state of the economy?
If you compare what private universities, what we charge, compared to what they charge overseas. So, for example, you want to send your words to UK, United Kingdom.
Maybe Harvard?
Harvard. Let's even talk about United Kingdom. That's where we people, Nigerians, we normally send our words, our children. Per session, you pay about £12,000. £12,000. If you do that conversion, £12,000 multiplied by 150, 1,500. You know the amount? And we have many Nigerians. Many Nigerians are there. They are there. And in private universities, if you look at the fees that we charge.
Some studying with stolen wealth?
Well, I agree with you, but not everybody.
I said some.
Yes, some, not everybody. Not everybody. Private universities in this country, our fees are comparable. Although it varies from university to university. For instance, if you are in Macpherson University, the highest amount we charge is 1.5 million. 1.5 million. That is
for
senior, medical courses.
That's a senior civil servant's salary for a whole year. A director.
And there are even courses where you pay 400,000. That's 400,000 per annum. And we also put in place payment structure in which parents are even allowed to pay in 4 installments.
But the point is this, Prof.
Yes.
The fees are still the fees, irrespective of the payment schedule,
the payment structure,
or the structure
is to allow parents to pay, at least give them opportunity.
But they will still pay.
They will still pay. Okay. Definitely, they will still pay.
You are chairman of the Ondo State Scholarship Board. Yeah. Scholarships no longer really exist, do they?
Well,
I mean all over the country.
But federal government just introduced one recently.
Is it working?
I don't know. But I believe it will work.
It will work.
I believe it
eventually.
Will. Yes, it will work.
I know you're a very, very hopeful.
Yes, I know it will work. Let's give them a chance. Let's allow them to operate it. But the only thing is that we are hoping that they will also extend it to private universities.
Scholarship,
yes,
private universities?
Yes, sure.
That charge so much money?
Let's allow students of private universities to also access the scholarship.
Okay. Now, let's go to...
It's not even scholarship, it's loans.
Okay. Yes, that's the point.
Exactly.
What the federal government is proposing is loans,
exactly.
not scholarship.
Not scholarship, exactly.
Okay. Now, let's go to a very sad narrative in the education sector. A lot of young people are no longer interested in academic pursuit.
Yeah.
They are more interested in getting rich quick. What's your experience? And more importantly, how do we deal with this crisis? Because it's a crisis.
I agree with
it
you.
It encourages crime.
It is. It's a problem in the country. But we are also, I can say we are the root cause.
Who are the we?
We celebrate people that have gotten money through different crooked ways. Thank you very much. Crooked ways. Somebody will go to church and display money, millions, with nobody knows, nobody wants to ask where he or she gets the money. So that's the problem we have all caused. It's not. But I believe that we need. I mentioned earlier that we need a change of attitude. Actually, we do that. We need a change of attitude, so that we celebrate people that you know that their source of wealth is questionable.
How do we do that? How do we achieve
we know them in the society. Parents know them. If I have a son, if I have a child who is in the university, and that child brings home a car
worth 20 million.
Worth 20 million. This is the child who is still another graduate. As a parent,
exactly. Is that what you're saying?
As a child, as a father, you have the responsibility to ask that particular child where he gets, what type of work is he doing.
But parents don't ask anymore.
They don't ask.
Why? You're a parent.
As a parent, I would definitely ask. Definitely, I would ask.
But what has happened to our psyche that has changed the values that we so much respected and cherished?
I have said it earlier. We celebrate material things.
Where did we miss it?
It is the fault of everybody. The society celebrates material things. Nobody wants to know where he or she gets the money. Once you have it, people will celebrate you.
Another problem that is in the education sector is the poor reading culture.
It is a big problem.
How do we deal with it? What is missing? There must be a missing gap that is encouraging or that is preventing the average Nigerian young person or even old person from wanting to read at all. In those days, people loved to read stuff.
Even when you come back from school,
yes,
your parents will ask you, what did you do in the class? You show your assignment, you sit down, parents will sit down with you, will read through, will put you through. Are we doing that now as parents?
What about libraries?
Libraries are there.
Are they stocked with books?
Libraries are there. They are stocked with books. Even universities, you don't read physical books now. It's everything is on the what is it?
On the net.
Exactly. So libraries are there. They are well equipped. Well equipped. I can say that.
So
but
what is wrong with us?
The attitude of our children. Many children would like to to be on their, what is it called, laptop? Or
Reading.
or watching different films, which I don't want to mention some of them here, you know, and they will be on TikTok. They will be on TikTok. Several times I've challenged my students here. I will see them on TikTok. I say, come, I saw you yesterday on TikTok.
Okay, you also go to TikTok?
No, yeah, sometimes I what were you doing there as a student?
Okay.
The quality time you're supposed to spend on your work. Supposed to spend on your work. So, I think parents, we have our own blame. Even the universities too. What we have done here in the last 1 year, we have been able to ask the students, by 9 a.m., we close down all hostels. We don't allow students to stay in the hostel. If you don't have anything to do, you go to the library.
You'll be forced to
go to the library, exactly. You'll be forced. Because that is the language, this young generation, that's the language they understand.
Okay, that's an issue that has generated a lot of controversy over the years, and it has, you know, the noise has been louder in the recent years, in the last 5 years, and that's the role of alumni in the development of universities. Yeah. Looks like we're not having much of that, you know, across the country. Why do you think that alumni of universities are not doing enough or doing much to develop their alma maters?
Well, alumni has a lot of role to play, especially in the development. Alumni is a stakeholder. It's one of the stakeholders. And we have seen universities where the alumni have done a lot, and they have seen others where they have not done much. But I believe that it also depends on the institution. Do we reach out to them? Do we reach out to them? How have we been? Most universities don't even have database, yes, of the alumni. If we ask how many of your students are doing well, your graduates are doing well somewhere else, have we been celebrating them? We just need to celebrate them. And that is the only way we can also get from them. Get something from them.
Win their attention.
Exactly, win their attention. If we discover somebody who has passed out of your school and such a person is doing well in the industry or in his or her own area, what you need to do, identify with the person. On the basis of that, the person may want to do something to give back to the institution. To give back to the institution.
So, but why is it difficult for universities to actually connect deliberately with their alumni?
I've mentioned earlier, I said, we need the database.
Why the issue I'm trying to get, you know, clarify is why universities are not doing it.
Well, it depends.
They're not doing enough.
They are not doing enough. They don't win
their alumni.
Yes, that is the area where, as universities, we need to do more in that area to connect with them, because that connection is very important. The universities that are not doing more, doing enough, might be probably they don't have the contacts of these alumni. The contacts are very important. Their contacts are very important. Recently, we celebrated one of our alumnus who just graduated a few years ago, became the president of ICANN. And this accountant something recently. We did that, and then we led as one of the deans to lead a delegation to that ceremony, that inauguration ceremony. And then it told us that he will get back to us. These are some of the things that we need to do as institutions, as universities. Let's identify with our alumni. Let's celebrate them. Let's celebrate them. I know FUTA is doing a lot. They are doing a lot, because I do read many stories about people who are making waves all over the world on our website. And then we can do more.
Okay, now, as we try to wind down this interview, I'm interested in one other very sore point in the university system. It was very prominent, you know, about a decade ago. But I'd like you, as an administrator of or in the university system, I'd like you to assess the level at which the university system has been able to deal with issues such as cultism and other vices.
Well, it is still a prominent issue. Because you mentioned it was a prominent issue sometime 10 decades ago. It is still a prominent issue in the university system. Still a very prominent issue. But universities, different universities have devised different ways of dealing with them. Through counseling. Some will give stiff punishment, some will counsel, some will do some other things to cultivate people that are engaged in cultism. Recently, we had a situation like that, even in private universities. I heard that some students, a group of students, went out to a herbalist just to take an oath. So when we heard that, we just...
An oath?
Yes.
Oath of what?
I don't know. That's the initiation somehow. I don't know what they call it. So, but when we heard that, we just called these students together. We counseled them, and we sent them to the chaplaincy department to deal with them. Later, they all confessed to what they did, and they apologized.
And you took them back?
We took them back. But we asked the chaplaincy to monitor them. And the chaplaincy is monitoring them, and is also giving them assignments, biblical assignments on a daily basis.
Okay, to
reorientate them.
No, but something must be the motivating force behind cultism. In your experience as a student, as a teacher, and as an administrator, what have you found as the major motivating factor for cultism?
Well, what I discovered is that it's all about peer influence. Exactly. Peer influence. Even from the confessional statement of this student that I just told you, because of peer influence. My friend is doing this, I have to do it. My friend is in another group, I have to be in another group. That is the major thing that is actually responsible for that, peer influence. Some of them, when you look at them, you evaluate where their home, where they came from, you will discover that they are sons and daughters of clergymen, big people in the society. You discover that. So, but when they get to the university, they will become different people entirely because of peer influence and some other things like that. So,
finally, Professor Igbasan, you are a vice chancellor. What's your advice to your colleague vice chancellors, especially in the area of ensuring that universities in this country move up the ladder of the global ranking of universities? Secondly, running systems that actually produce properly baked students, graduates.
Well, thank you very much. This job is a difficult job.
Which job?
The job of being a vice chancellor of a university is a difficult one. Mr. Akinwumi, let me just tell you this. But we need to maintain standards. That is the bottom line of everything. Standards is very important. No matter the situation of things, let's keep the standards wherever we find ourselves. And that is what I've been doing here. In the area of promotion, in quality teaching, in other things that we need to do to maintain standards.
Discipline.
Discipline, exactly. We maintain standards. There are many things that would influence you, many things. But you need to stand your ground. And what is that? That the standard must be maintained. I also want to thank the NUC, you know. NUC is doing a lot in terms of maintaining quality. Quality teaching, infrastructure, library, all those things. So, but we must, at our own ends,
As vice
chancellors, we must do our best.
Professor Francis Igbasan, Vice Chancellor of the Macpherson University, Seriki Shotayo, Ogun State. Thank you very much for talking to me on the facts on KAFTAN television. Well, in the last 45 minutes or thereabout, we have been looking at tertiary education yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And I have had the privilege to speak with the Vice Chancellor of Macpherson University, Seriki Shotayo, Professor Francis Igbasan. That's the size of the package this week. Let's do this again next week. My name is Akinwumi Abodunde. Please enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.